Don't stop, baby, you can walk too. Don't want, baby, think about you. You know that I'm never gonna lose.
Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. Usually I put something on TV, so we never think about you and me. But today I see our reflections clearly in Hollywood, laying on the screen. You just need a better life than this. You need something I can never give. Fake water all across the road. It's gone now, the night is come. But sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. You can't fight it, you can't breathe. You say something so loving, but now I gotta let you go. You'll be better off in someone new. I don't wanna be alone. You know it hurts me too. You look so broken when you cry. One more and then I say goodbye. Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. I just wonder what you're dreaming of when you sleep and smile so comfortable. I just wish that I could give you that bad look that's perfectly unsaid. Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Heat waves been faking me out. Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now. Sometimes all I think about is you. Late nights in the middle of June. Heat waves been faking me out. Can't make you happier now.
Anytime I feature, get me low. Anytime I seek, you let me know.
but I planted a seed, just let me grow. I'm on my knees while I'm begging, cause I don't wanna lose. I got my arms so spread, I hope that my heart gets fed. Matter of fact, girl, I'm begging, begging you. Put your loving hand out, baby. Begging you. Put your loving hand out, darling. I need you to understand. Try so hard to be the man. Not a man you want in the end. Only then can I bring it to live again. An empty shell I used to be. The shadow of my life was hanging over me. A broken man that I don't know won't even stand the devil's chance to win my soul. Why we doing? Why we chasing? Why the bottom? Why the basement? Why we got good shit, don't embrace it? Why the feel for the need to replace me? You're on the runway track from the good. I only painted a picture, telling where we could be at. Like the heart in a attached where it should. You done gave it away, you had it till you took it back. But I keep walking on, keep open doors, keep open forward. That the call is yours, keep those on hold. Cause I don't wanna live in a broken home, girl, I'm begging. Begging you. Put your loving hand out, baby. Begging you. Put your loving hand out, darling. I'm fighting hard to hold my home. Just can't make it all alone. I'm holding on, can't fall back. Not quite body, just a calm, like to fade to black.
All right, welcome in everyone to another Doc Talk. My name is Ike, here with Sports Management Worldwide out in Portland, Oregon. Welcome in everyone. Today's Doc Talk is going to be with James Kerti and with Dr. Lynn Lashbrook, talking about the world of basketball, getting jobs in basketball, the film room, synergy, sports technology, all of those great things. So we do want to hear from you, and we want to make sure that we do get to your questions. But first, we're going to do a Q&A with James and with Dr. Lashbrook. So we ask that keep your microphones muted during that time so we get to hear them and not have any interruptions. But then we will get to your audience questions. To show that you have a question, please hit the raise hand button, which you'll see at the bottom of the participants list or under the reactions button. So click that raise hand button. When you have a question, we'll bring you up on screen to ask it to James and Dr. Lashbrook, and then they'll take it from there, and then we'll just get through everyone. So we're very excited. Without further ado, we are going to hand it over to Dr. Lashbrook and to James. And so let's bring them on right now. So Lynn, can you hear me?
I can hear you very well. Thank you, Ike. And I want to thank Ike and Sharice and the rest of our staff for helping put the Doc Talk on. James Kerti, good to see you, my friend. We're going to have a lot of fun today. I'm really proud of our 30,000 alums on 163 different countries. I went to Springfield College in Massachusetts, the birthplace of basketball. I tell people that I held the ladder when he put up the peach basket, James Naismith. It might be true, it might not be true, but the evolution of the game of basketball and the globalization of basketball and our 35 courses, it's really fun to meet you. We're here to answer your questions, not bore you, but we have a great story. And James, I'm going to turn to you. This is about you today. The reason I got into the digital video side, the synergy side, as I was in 1966 in the off season, I was a splicer for 16 millimeter film. And then fast forward 3 years later, when I started in my alma mater at Fort Hays as a professor and as a coach, we had a brand new VCR. And I was the digital video coordinator for the entire department, all sports, because I was the only one that knew how to use a Q-tip and alcohol to clean the heads. So we've come a little further than that. But James, I believe in the story before we get into the questions and answers. Let's start with your story. Where'd you grow up? And just kind of evolve how you came to SNWW, and we'll go right into the questions and strategies and opportunities there are in basketball. James, welcome in.
Thanks, Dr. Lashbrook. Appreciate you having me on today for this all Oregon basketball edition of Doc Talks. I'm out here on the Oregon coast in a tiny little town, not too far though from Eugene and Corvallis, so I get my share of Pac-12 basketball out this way. Yeah, I went to college at Villanova University outside Philadelphia. Very hardcore basketball fan. It was an auspicious time to be going to Villanova. So I had come across Sports Management Worldwide not too long after graduating college in 2009. I don't remember which class I took first, but I took both the basketball GM and scouting and the digital video editing class with Synergy that all these years later, I teach now. And they really did make a big difference for me on my journey. They helped me make some connections, get more clarity on what the different opportunities were in the business. I went to a couple of Sports Management Worldwide's NBA Summer League and Vegas career conferences, which were also really helpful. I think for me, when I was first starting out, one of the biggest things that made a difference working with Sports Management Worldwide was find out what it took to be successful in this business and what steps to possibly take to get started and just kind of getting more clear on what it was that I had to offer. I was able to leverage that networking I did at the career conference and through the classes into starting to get some opportunities to scout. I was living in Vegas at the time. And actually, I think we got a little bit of feedback from somewhere there. I don't know.
That's right. Ike will handle the boards. Right.
Thanks,
Go
Ike.
ahead. Yeah.
I think I'm actually 3 days away from celebrating my 10-year anniversary of the first game that I scouted, which I remember like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
And goodness, how time flies.
Yeah.
But I started scouting at the high school level. I was able to get some work with a regional scouting service that already had relationships with many major and minor colleges in the United States, worked with them for about a year, 2 years. And then I sort of graduated and got to working with some NBA guys on some special projects, doing some regional live scouting, video projects. And video was always a big component of the work that I did. Like Dr. Lashbrook was saying earlier, this video and basketball is a field that's really come a long way. There's much less need to come in highly technical and highly qualified, but certainly being able to take this class that we'll be talking about in the next hour makes a big difference. Getting some background with Synergy Sports and understanding the role that video played, I really do feel like it made a big difference for me as a scout. Being conversant in Synergy, being able to watch film, being able to work with the statistical and analytical database that Synergy has to offer was really helpful because and I'm sure we'll talk about this more later, but I think that in order to be successful in this business, it's about being able to come up with some unique skills that differentiate you from other people who are looking for work. And thanks to my background and the experiences I had with Sports Management Worldwide, I was able to do that. So I scouted high school ball for colleges. I scouted college ball for some NBA teams and worked on special projects for a few years. And that's how I've been able to make my way in this business.
Well, and I look at our graduates and people like John Ross, who's been the video coordinator for the Portland Blazers for many years. And I just look at the opportunities and, we do conferences all over the world in all sports, but the digital side is part of everybody's. Now, I will say this, that what's fascinating to me is the digital, the technology. And so give us a little more before we get into the class, and then we're going to have questions. Let's talk about the evolution of technology when you started and where we are today. Just talk about the nuances of the business, and then we'll talk about the market, and then we're going to take questions.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, I know from networking and working with some video guys throughout the business, it's been interesting to get to hear stories, including what you were saying earlier, Dr. Lashbrook, just about how this part of the business has evolved over the years from what you were saying. I know some of the people that I've gotten to work with who started 10, 15 years before me, they were talking about VCRs and DVDs and just what an ordeal it was, not just to edit the video, but I think one thing that we take for granted now, and Synergy kind of started this, but just like how available the video is in the first place. Because it used to be that, colleges and NBA teams working with video, like they were literally mailing DVDs or VHS tapes, overnighting them in order to view film exchanges. And now you just log into Synergy or some of these other platforms that have come along more recently. or even from a fan perspective, you have things like League Pass and other streaming services. Like now this stuff's just kind of out there. It used to be that you'd spend 80% of your time trying to get the video. And now you type in a username and password and it's just right there. So
Yeah.
I think that that's made a big difference. And the job of being somebody in the video room or being in a front office or coaching staff who works with video, it's really changed in that way where manipulating the technology takes a lot less time than it used to.
Right.
And that has opened up more opportunities for
Yeah.
people to come in who are, maybe less technical or less interested in becoming really technical.
Right.
And that's opened things up in a way where I feel like courses like this can make such a big difference because there's just less of an investment that you need to make in yourself and in your technical education in order to get your foot in the door.
James, all our faculty, including you, work in the trenches of the business. Talk about what you do. This is just when I say part-time, you come in every week. You've done a marvelous job over the years, and we're growing our enrollment. And we have all experts in the field, whatever the special specification is. But talk about what you do when you're not teaching a class.
Sure, great question. Well, teaching the class is one of the main things I do that's basketball related right now. I also run a scouting website called basketballscoutingguide.com where I share a lot of the lessons and tips that I've picked up over the years of being in and around scouting. So that's something that I find a lot of fulfillment in. I love teaching, whether it's through Sports Management Worldwide or elsewhere. And it's wonderful to be able to give back and share some of the things I learn and participate in those conversations. Outside of basketball, I also have a background in marketing, particularly digital marketing. I have a number of clients I work with, and in this tiny little town on the Oregon coast, I also kind of lead our tourism marketing efforts, which, as you can imagine, during COVID is
unbelievable,
plenty busy.
Right. I've got a big COVID, of course, and thank goodness we had the video editing out there because the game went on, whether in isolated gyms, if I may, all over the world. I want to talk a little bit about the vastness of what digital video editing's done for the global talent discovery, because what I see, and then I want to talk about the market, starting with college and high school. But let's talk about how it is used by every scout, every level, looking for talent. And it's pretty authentic what you can do with video scouting before we get into analytics.
Well, definitely, Dr. Lashbrook. And, I think that's one of the reasons that this class is really valuable, is that it makes this information just so accessible that people can pick it up in a matter of weeks. And I think one of my favorite things about teaching the class, honestly, is the first week or two when people are getting their login information for Synergy and they're getting in there the first time and they're getting to see all the information that's at their fingertips. It's just really neat to see the almost childlike glee that some of the basketball junkies in this class have at going, oh my goodness, I can watch any NBA game going back to 2004, 2005. And I can see all of these stats that I've never seen anywhere before. And if I want to, I can pull up and just watch. I can grab a big bucket of popcorn and watch every single, pick and roll that Chris Paul ran in the 2008 season. Wow. And yeah, it's just, it's incredible how accessible this information is and how people can jump in there with, honestly, a fairly minimal amount of training, and that it's opened up opportunities for more people to get involved in video. I've just kind of been a witness to the journey of so many people in the last, I'd say, about 15 years who have been able to get jobs with NBA coaching staffs or NBA front offices who started out essentially as freelance bloggers or writers who had, the ability to start working with video and to start making YouTube highlight videos or video blog posts, breaking down plays, breaking down teams, or analyzing draft prospects, and just, from the comfort of their own home, be able to make a name for themselves by virtue of how they're able to scout and evaluate players and teams using video. So I think making that information so much more widely available, both to get started with and then to distribute the fruits of your labor. That's something that's really helped. And even just beyond video, having the internet and social media the way we do, it's so much easier to get your foot in the door, because it used to be you were entirely dependent on writing letters to teams or filling out resumes and cover letters. And now, you still need to do that officially to go through the process, but there are ways where you can build your own portfolio and your own skill set now in ways where you just couldn't before.
James, what I like, I like that we have resume service. I like we have a lifetime video membership for my Sunday chat. I've been doing it for 25 years. We started with one student. But I want to talk a little bit about informational interviews. I have found our secret sauce for those students that want to take advantage. They learn the product. They can name drop, whether it's James Kerti, Dr. Lashbrook, or Sports Management Worldwide. They get information interviews. They don't ask for a job. They ask for advice. And as they continue to meet in confidence, there are so many opportunities out there. And I first want to start with the college landscape, being in higher ed for so many years and knowing that, I watered the cinder track and I did the video splitting or splicing. But I can tell you, if you take a course like this at a university, college, Division 1, 2, or 3, men or women's, even high school, if you walk up to a coach or somebody's hiring and say, I can do this, I can't tell you how many good feedback people get breaking into the industry. And video coordinators do become, they do become assistant coaches, no different than Dean Oliver in analytics. Let's talk about what you consider with those information interviews and job opportunities with our graduates. We don't guarantee jobs. That's a false premise. I want somebody to have a skill set. So it's not because you love sports and you just really love the team you're applying for. Here's what I bring to the table. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, like you were saying, video is a great way to differentiate yourself. This class is one of a few ways to get hands-on experience using Synergy without, having your foot in the door already. So it's kind of a catch-22 situation there. But video makes a big difference. It's a big differentiating factor. One thing that's always kind of stood out to me is, having been to career conferences in the past, both as an attendee and as a speaker, and also just, via my, my website and my profile online, I do have a lot of people reaching out to me, and there are a lot of people who do, come in with a lot of excitement and a lot of passion, but not a whole lot in the way of skills that really differentiate themselves from other people. There are a lot of people who are, young, maybe just out of school, who think that the key is to just throw enough passion and hard work and resilience at the situation. But I think at the end of the day, Dr. Lashbrook, that's really just kind of the bare minimum to be able to get in, because it's such a competitive industry. So the more that you can do things to separate yourself, whether it's being able to scout or being able to work with video or being able to write, it really helps to be able to do things like that. And I think that if the more that you have skills like that, the better chance you have of doing something to distinguish yourself, get noticed, and be able to make connections and give value. I think that's really what it comes down to, is being able to be of service to people. That's why we do what we do. And that's what makes, people good candidates for jobs.
I love people getting that knowledge. Now let's go to some questions. And James, we're here for an hour. We welcome questions at SMWW. This isn't about a lecture, and James is resourceful, but you've got to have the question. If you don't have any questions, you have all the answers. So one question is why you'd come in. Have some fun, and then type notes to each other and comment on the comments. You can learn. This is a crazy company with crazy classes and crazy success is the way I look at it. Let's go to Eric with your introduction and question for James. Eric, come on in. Thank you.
Hey, how you guys doing? My name is Eric Sobelman. I live in Middleburg, New Jersey. I'm a scout and assistant operations assistant for the International Sports Academy in Ohio. I just finished the GM and scouting course for basketball with Professor Workentine. And James, I have a question for you. What is the difference between Synergy and sports code?
Good question.
A good question. I mean, they're different pieces of software. For one, Synergy goes much further back. For one, Synergy goes back to like 04, 05. So it has a, much deeper wealth of video. It's hard for me to speak to sport code too much, Eric, because I teach a Synergy class and obviously a little biased there. And I don't have a whole lot of hands-on experience with sport code, but I know sport code is, widely used these days for the editing of video, maybe to a greater extent than Synergy is right now. But Synergy still has, the video database. It's very accessible. It has the statistical and analytical information that's tied into the video. So I know Synergy is still really big on the scouting and player development side of things, for breaking down live game film. I understand that Sport Code's kind of taken some of the market there away from Synergy, but they're complementary tools. Is the facts. Everybody who works in video and basketball, usually ends up using both on different types of projects. So I think those are kind of the main takeaways when it comes to the Synergy versus Sport Code situation.
Eric, you have a follow-up to a very good question.
In NBA video rooms, are Synergy and Sports Code both used in the video rooms and with assistant coaches and with the staff?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
And
Good
let's
questions.
touch on, as we wait for the next question, Ike, let me know, but let's talk about analytics. We're having more and more students. I never thought when I started the company, but analytics and Synergy, we know there's a difference, but how do you live with one without the other? Your comment on that?
Well, I think they're tied together. One of the beautiful things about Synergy is that it's not just video, it's video tied with stats, to the extent that like you can log into, I gave the example earlier, like you can log into Chris Paul's profile in Synergy, and not only can you see his percentages, his efficiency, the number of times he ran pick and roll in a given season or a given situation, but you can click on one button and watch video of all of those pick and rolls. So particularly from a scouting perspective, it just saves so much time to be able to do things like that. Think about it. If you wanted to break down a player's pick and roll game without Synergy, you would have to watch every possession that player played. And if he ran a pick and roll, great, you can watch it. If he didn't, then you're just kind of fast forwarding, waiting for something to happen. And that's untold hours of basketball looking for the thing that you want to see. Whereas you can go into Synergy and, click on a player, click on the little pick and roll section and just watch every pick and roll that player ran with no extra possessions in there. So it's an incredible time saver. It's incredibly accessible. So, in terms of being able to combine scouting and analytics and video in the same place, to me, Synergy is pretty much unparalleled.
No, I do. Let's go to Pradesh. Ike, turn that mic on for him. Introduce yourself and your question for James. Thanks for your question.
Hey, I'm Pratush. I finished basketball GM and scouting course last year, and I loved it. Huge fan. And I'm a computer science student. I live just outside St. Louis, Missouri. I go to Southern Illinois, and I'm a huge fan of basketball. Huge fan, but an even bigger fan of data analytics. So from my experience in last year with the Synergy, because we had I think it was 2 courses where we briefly went over Synergy, and I remember looking at the data, it has such specific data from if you click on how he was mentioning how you click on a player's profile, it shows what's his percentage shooting 10 feet from the basket and such. My question is, what's the future and the limitations for data analytics using Synergy? Because I want to get into the sport through data analytics because it's changing, not only NBA, but even NFL, tennis, soccer.
Go ahead, James.
Good question, Pratush. And I am a fellow computer science graduate, so I can definitely understand that perspective. I think that Synergy
in the room, right?
Yeah, I think that Synergy is a piece of the puzzle when it comes to analytics. To get a little technical for a moment, I know with analytics, you're probably more talking R and Python and SQL, some of those more technical programming languages and tools and theories out there. And Synergy doesn't really have a super duper mineable database the way that some of those other platforms do. So I think Synergy, you're probably more looking at using it from kind of a a less technical analytics perspective, but still a really valuable one. Like I said, being able to work with some of these efficiency numbers and being able to pull up video alongside them to get context. Because while I do have a background, like I said, in computer science and analytics, and that's always been a part of what I do, being able to combine traditional scouting and analytics, and I include video in that, I do feel like that is the way forward. I think that we're past the point now where if you want to be successful in this business, particularly like as a team, like you can't just use one of these puzzle pieces and expect to do well, expect to be able to get all the answers. So I think that means watching video with Synergy and looking at some of these numbers and doing live and video scouting, and also using some of the other tools out there, including some of the more rigorous analytical tools.
Bradish, anything else before I go to James Crack?
Yeah, just another follow-up question. So how the like college coaches and the NBA coaches, for their tactical plans and offense and defense, do they use the charts given by Synergy, the data provided by Synergy, or do they use another software for it?
Both. I mean, everybody uses Synergy, I believe, to some extent, and also there's a number of other tools out there too that are also widely used, especially from an advanced scouting perspective. There are tools that are designed more for that type of scouting probably than I'd say Synergy is. Synergy, certainly you can use it that way, but for kind of more like team-wide tendencies, there are some other tools out there that'll make things a little bit more visual, a little bit more accessible to coaches. So it's yes is the answer.
Yeah.
Yes, you use Synergy, and yes, you also use other things.
And James, there is a transfer of learning, whatever the product is. Going in with confidence after this course, you definitely understand the nomenclature, and you can tweak with other products. Am I correct? Other students have been successful with that?
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. And this tech, like we were saying, technology is always evolving. So at least doing what you can to learn what you can where we are now prepares you for the future as much as you can reasonably expect.
Thank you, James. Let's go to another James. James Crack, come in with your introduction and question or comment in this hour chat. Doc.
Sure. James Keck, nice to meet you from the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. James, good to catch up with you. Dr. Lashbrook, we met 13 years ago in Las Vegas at one of the conferences. So,
well, good to see you. Post-COVID, we're going to be back on the road. We're going to Ike and I Streets. We're going to the Senior Bowl in Mobile. We're going to Indianapolis to the Combine. We'll be back at the NBA Summer League, and where I have a new grandson in Vegas. And we're not stopping. This has been a hard 2 years, and thank goodness for sports, and thank good for video and TV and everything else. But go ahead with your introduction and questions or comment. Thank you, James.
Sure. Yeah. I've been coached high school and college, D3 level, interned with the Milwaukee Bucks many years ago. I took the digital video editing course in 2008. So I know a lot has changed. A lot has changed. We were writing our own strings and doing things like that.
Yeah.
So one of my first questions is, how much has the product itself changed in that time frame? I assume it's much more user friendly, much more, accessible for someone who isn't as technical. So that's my first question. How much has the product changed in those years? And for someone like myself, should I take the course again, or what would be a next step in getting refreshed in the editing?
Well, James, it's good to see you on here. I know we've exchanged emails before. Surprisingly, honestly, like I said, I've been working with the platform for 12 years. It hasn't really changed that much. I'd say that Synergy hasn't made a whole lot of user interface changes or really changed the feature set that much in the last 10 or so years. So I think you'd maybe be surprised at how similar it is to how you remember it being.
Okay, great. Follow up to that. So I did take Carl Berman's course and was fortunate to have some comments posted on NBA.com a few years ago, some prospects that I covered for Carl. And then COVID kind of got in the way of that with live scouting and so forth. So I guess in terms of, trying to make a little money, a little side hustle here with Synergy, are there options available, on an independent contractor logging basis? If I'm not working for an NBA team or college, is there a demand for somebody with logging skills to do a couple games a day?
With Synergy, you mean?
Correct. Yes.
That's not something I can speak to. I work with Sports Management Worldwide. I've never actually worked for Synergy itself. So I'm vaguely familiar with their process for, hiring people and how their logging teams work to the extent that I explained that in the course, but I'm not sure where they're at right now.
James, let me go further with that. James, you can also, being a lifetime member of SMWW, you can go do informational interviews. And you have credentials because the SMWW has a great reputation. We've worked hard, but you could get some informational interviews and ask that question, and you'd be surprised. And then the other thing I'm going to share, and we're not in here to upsell, somebody with your talent and background, and if you're looking for some monetizing of your talents, the synergy as well as the analytics and basketball scouting and your experience representing a college basketball player with NIL, there's a lot of ways to monetize your knowledge of the game. A family would be very impressed with your background, not just what you know from the course 10 or 12 years ago, but just keep that in mind. The Uber driver picks up a passenger and monetizes his or her investment. And I just think there's a lot more out there than ever before. I've never seen anything quite like it. But every athlete around the world is going to have a representation of some sort because there's opportunities, not just in their local community, but there's opportunities. And the more knowledge you have, the talent discovery, the more confidence you have in being able to articulate and promote your client. That's one of the areas. So you have a lot to go. You have a lot you're doing right now, but keep that in mind.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good to see you. Let's go to Shadu.
Be in touch.
With your introduction, Shadu lowered his hand, but if he doesn't want to come in, I've got plenty of questions. And James, I'll go to my next question. The college athletics, Oregon State, for example, how many are in that department for basketball? I know some are student workers, some may be graduate assistants. Give me an idea at a basketball game of people that are involved in the video side of operations, not just in the locker room and in practice, but talk about some of the job opportunities out there, what you'd be doing in those different capacities in an umbrella like college basketball.
That's a really good question. And it's something that when I'm teaching the digital video editing class, it's something that usually somebody asks at some point. And I always find this to be a really interesting discussion, Dr. Lashbrook, because the answer is that it really depends on the school and the conference.
Yes.
No one size fits all answer. I mean, just as an example, I mean, if you go on the University of Kentucky Wildcats men's basketball website right now, and you look at their coaching staff, there's like 15, 20 names on there. They got a video coordinator, an assistant video coordinator, an assistant to the assistant video coordinator. So, they're pretty well fully stocked. Kind of a more average power conference or mid-major team, they probably have a dedicated video person. Maybe they have an assistant. But then if you go, the further down the ladder you get to it being a graduate assistant who does the video, or a student manager who does the video. Right. In some cases, they don't even have a dedicated video person because they don't have the money to hire a dedicated video person. And they don't have enough student managers or grad assistants involved who are up to the task. So, it's some hapless poor assistant coaches who has to do it on top of their regular duties. So it really does depend on the school and their resources. And, that's why when we have people in the course who, are actively enrolled at a college that has a basketball program, I'm always so encouraging of them seeking out opportunities there because if you're in the digital video editing course and you're currently enrolled at a college that has a basketball program, you may be the most qualified person for them to help out with video. Yeah.
As we go to Shadu, I wanted to mention too that working in college athletics, just like the coaches that I met at Missouri that are in the pros, et cetera, it's such the ecosystem of sports and that college athletics, volunteering even, versus just focusing on your degree in sports management. I just believe any one of our courses does that. It's a separate. We're getting more and more college students since COVID take our courses because they're online anyhow, and they realize that we kind of have online figured out. Let's go to Shadu with your introduction. Now that you've raised your hand, we're glad to have you in.
Hi, everyone. Dr. Lashbrook, James, it's a pleasure. My question is kind of similar to
introduce yourself. Where are you?
Oh, I'm sorry?
Introduce yourself. Where are you located?
Sorry about that. My name is Chidi. I'm located in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada.
I love it.
And I have not taken any course from SMW before. I'm kind of planning on to doing that. And that's, I'm hoping the question kind of helps to
Well, I'm
clarify.
glad. Go ahead.
going.
You can ask any question you want. We appreciate you taking the time to learn more. Thank you.
Awesome. So basically, between the basketball GM and scouting course and the basketball analytics course and the more general data science and analytics course that SMW has, which course would be best for somebody like me who wants to be a scout?
Well, I'm obviously biased toward the course that I teach. I do think that it would be really helpful for you. I mean, the ability to get into the Synergy video database for, for the better part of 2 months and be able to both see how it's done and also just have access to so much video all in one place and see how these different pieces fit together. It's an 8-week class that I teach, and 3 to 4 weeks are pretty focused on how to use video for scouting purposes. I think especially during COVID right now, for however long this worldwide situation is continuing, being able to get into the video and not be reliant on, global conditions to be able to safely go to live games. I think that video now is as good a time as any to be focused on video scouting. So I think that this course is a good way to go.
And James, let me comment on that too. I really think we just, like I said, we have advanced certificates now, but I know so many basketball people that take the video, they take the GM, learn from Mark Warkentine, they take analytics from Dean Oliver. I get it, and I just am proud. If you'll take one course with this family, you get a lifetime membership, you get a resume service, but you can do information reviews when you say SMWW. That's how hard we've worked the last 25 years, and James should be passionate about his course, but we have alumni discount, and to be honest with you, a lot of people do more than one because they don't really separate very well. But we sure want you to just invest in one, and we gain your trust. And we want you to get information reviews. We'd like you to work in sports. I want everybody to get paid for their passion. You have a follow-up, Shadu, before we go back to more questions?
No, that'll be it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, well, thanks for coming in. And I want to remind everybody, this is a Doc Talk. This is our style. We do live Zoom chats every week. We make it fun. If it's not fun, we're not learning. We have experts in the field. They're all in the industry, James included. They know their expertise. We try to bring in the software that's used on the ground. And I would like to ask James a question. We're waiting for our next caller. James, what do you notice about high schools and the video going on now? They may not own the most expensive product, but your comments on high schools using digital. I watched a high school when I was out at my alma mater. I was at the hotel, and they spent the whole hour or two on video of the game, breaking it down. And it was more than video, if I may. So let's talk about that ecosystem of high school and even AAU.
Sure. Well, it's certainly an area where they've made a lot of headway. I mean, when I was scouting high school ball, nearish full time about 10 years ago, the video area was really just kind of getting started, and they've come a long way with things being more accessible now. But I think frankly, I think there's still a long way to go. I think the video is just a small part of scouting and evaluating at this level, and that's one of the reasons that I'm still such a firm believer in the best live scouting opportunities for people who are looking to get started out. I think are still at the high school level, just because there's really not a whole lot of exposure, and through some of the stuff that I write at my site basketballscoutingguide.com and stuff that I teach in the digital video editing class. I just I really believe in starting where you are and not waiting for somebody to if you want to scout, not waiting for somebody to hire you or to give you permission, because all you need to do, again, asterisk COVID, is go to a game with a notebook and take notes, and you're scouting. That's how you can get started.
No, it's great stuff. We're going to go to Ike as a question. And again, I encourage you, we got another 30 minutes here. We won't keep you the whole time, but this is about you and about questions. We're not here to sell. We're here to answer your questions and to tell you how we can help you. So go ahead, Ike.
Yeah, definitely. So, James, one of the things that you kind of been talking about is like how video has really been helpful in kind of breaking down the barriers to entry for like getting jobs and that kind of thing. But Dr. Lashbrook always talks about like the globalization of basketball itself. And I'm kind of curious your thoughts on like, how do you think video has really helped bring if it did help, guys like Giannis or maybe even Joel Embiid, Pascal Siakam, all of the guys that are international basketball stars to the NBA, and how do you see that kind of accessibility of video and therefore kind of scouting? I mean, how do you see that kind of leading to a more global game?
Thank you, Ike.
That's a really good question, Ike. Well, I think it's a twofold situation. I mean, some of it is just, the video being accessible and easily distributed, but the other part of this that I think gets ignored sometimes is that a lot of it just comes down to being able to have proper context for what you're watching on video. And there's two things I mean by that. So first of all, understanding the level of play, the level of organization, the level of professionalism that's going on. There's some areas of the world where basketball is not super organized in terms of there being professional leagues and a whole lot of structure and there, being an established level of quality competition there. I think that's one thing. And then also just kind of springing from that is like when it comes to professionalism, there are questions about when you're watching video, what exactly are you watching? Because it's one thing to, be able to go into synergy and, like I said, watch every pick and roll that somebody ran, versus, going on YouTube and you're watching a highlight video of some guy, in a gym half rolled away and he's, dunking against, kids who were 5'8". You don't really have any kind of context for what it is that you're seeing on video. So I think that's a really important part of this. And as the game, continues to grow overseas and leagues and structures become more professional and we have enough time and experience to be able to properly contextualize the quality of play that we're looking at. You mentioned Giannis. One of the tricky things about Giannis, he was playing in I think it was the second division in Greece, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And it was hard for NBA teams who were evaluating to put that in proper context. I mean, how do you compare, and they were live scouting him in some cases, but how do you, compare the jump from the second division play in Greece to, the NBA level? And you mentioned Joel Embiid. I remember my first summer scouting at the high school level, I actually saw Joel play. He was playing with a grassroots team out of Florida. And I watched his team play, I think 2 or 3 times. And he was coming off the bench and playing 12 minutes a game. This was, I think, 2 years before he was drafted into the NBA. You wouldn't have known from watching him then, exactly what he was going to become. You could see signs, but it's hard to put that into context and be like, wait a minute, I'm watching, a high school grassroots AAU basketball game. This kid's not even starting for this team. And I'm going to think that he's going to be a lottery pick in 2 years, that he's going to be the number 3 pick in the draft.
Where's that going to come from? Yeah.
That year in between, he went to Kansas and he was a heck of a player. And Bill Self was raving about how he's the best big man he's ever coached. So, just being able to put these things in context is so important. And that's one of the things that gets even harder with video.
Yeah, for sure. And one quick follow-up, because there's something that I thought you said that's really awesome, which is that sense of getting started at high school games, scouting wise. Can you just kind of break down when you're writing things down? I mean, what are you looking for in a high school player? What's something that really stands out? If I go to my local high school, tomorrow and I'm looking at players, what do you think that I should kind of be looking for?
That's a really good question. I think it's less about what it is that you're looking for, and we're just trying to be present to the moment and being attuned and seeing what it is that stands out to you. Because if it's a situation where you're going in with some level of preparation and okay, I'm going to this game, this team has this kid who's being recruited by Kentucky and this kid who's being recruited by Miami and this other team, this kid who's being recruited by Minnesota, you have some level of context going in, well, these are obviously some high major D1 players, let's keep an eye on them. But if you're going to a game and you don't know, and there may not be any high level prospects in that game, so I think it's one of those things where you really need to take it as you go, take it one moment at a time and see what jumps out at you. And, recognize, and this is something that I talk about a lot with people as they're trying to make their way in the business, is scouting can be, kind of profoundly boring sometimes. Just imagine, imagine what it's like to be an NBA scout for a team that has traded away all of their draft picks.
Oh, God.
What are you doing? You're being paid to go to hundreds of games, knowing that chances are your team's not going to draft anybody that you watch, no matter how much you
Right.
like them, no matter how much you're encouraging to your team. Like, this guy's really good. Like, he's been given second round value, but I like, if I had a first round pick, I would take him, but we don't have a first round pick, so we're not going to do anything.
Neil Olshey method, as we like to say here in
but it's
Portland.
still kind of the same thing when you're just evaluating high school players. Like, you don't know if you're evaluating anybody who's a high level player or not. But I think, being able to turn that on its head, especially in high school, and let that be kind of part of the mystery, letting that be a little exciting. Like, ooh, what am I going to see today?
Yeah. Okay.
So-
I like that. Well, I appreciate that, James.
Yeah, thank you, Ike. And James,
Yeah.
I got a couple more questions. And Ike, anybody else, make sure they have them raise their hand and come in. James, I know COVID, we had to rely on technology, but I look at the G League, I look at international basketball, the high school senior going directly to the pros. The world has changed, and then NIL stay, transfer portal. And I always remind my students, everybody, coach, just like in the NFL, I think 8 coaches were fired at the end of the season, basketball included. We missed on the next talent, the next great draft. And it's a fascinating business. And that's why 24/7 on the video, you never get enough information. Your comments on that global talent discovery that I've alluded to, and the growth in other parts, Africa and everything, of using technology as part of bringing these the top players to the front, if I may.
Yeah, well, I think that goes hand in hand with, what I was saying before too, about just more professionalism and more structure. Basketball in Africa, for instance, is, I know they have that professional league that started up, and that's, I think, going to make a big difference there. So I think more capital, more investments, more players, seeing opportunities over there. I think that all matters, honestly, more than the technology itself does. But
Right.
Certainly the technology is a big piece of it, both with the, the video, making the streaming, the footage of the games available. And I think that the impact of social media can't be discounted either, for being able to share information about what people are seeing all over the world. We've seen how social media can shape, global news stories that are much more globally significant than basketball. But I think the same does apply in basketball too. And when I was first starting out as a scout, one of the things that really helped me was being able to use social media to share what it is that I was doing and what it is I was seeing. And I think that gave me an advantage to some people who were less comfortable than me scouting via social media.
So 2 more comments here, and anybody else who wants to ask a question. Not only the growth of basketball, and I have to bring in sports betting, I have to bring in streaming all over the world. Every game's on every channel, if I may. You can watch any game, you can watch any high school game. And then I look at NIL and talent discovery. In my opinion, you're going to see kids from other countries, even underdeveloped countries, that can come to a university and get that laboratory experience in the States. You're going to find kids that easily go to international. But I think the cross-pollination of talent discovery, the reason I bring that up, my question to you is every scout is paid to go view that eyeball. We get the eyeball, but it's not a dinosaur. But at the end of the day, COVID's a good example. You still had to draft, and there's a lot of places you couldn't travel. There's a lot we can do with technology. I go back to the metaverse, what Apple's doing or Facebook, and I think we really are in a metaverse of basketball, talent basketball. It really, you can get a lot done on the video. It's not going away. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up, and I want your comment on both. I've always said an agent gets paid for being a really good scout and gets paid handsomely if they're successful. The relationship is easier. It's identifying talent and the relationship. And the scouting is finite, and a lot of people rely on technology and don't hire the scout, the traditional scout. I think that world is, and you're right, you said it best. It can be lonely and boring out there watching a game night after night and not having a draft pick. Your comments on that industry?
Well, I think that it's a lot to keep up with how much things are changing all the time, and I have noticed there being, I'd say, less boundaries around some of the roles out there than maybe there used to be. I mean, there's more people who are doing some combination of video and live scouting than there used to be when they were 2 traditionally separate roles. When teams started hiring analytics people kind of en masse about 10 or so years ago. It used to be just numbers crunchers, and now we're seeing a lot more people with backgrounds that are a combination of analytics and video and some live scouting. And I think that speaks to how important it is to be multi-talented, multi-dimensional, multifaceted when you can, because it's like we've both been saying for the last 45 minutes. It's about what you can do to contribute. It's about what makes you unique and seeing where it is that you can give value. And the more things that you can do, the more skills you can combine, the more you can bring a perspective that is unique and valuable, the more that you're going to be able to make your way. And I also want to reinforce the idea that there's so much more to the basketball industry than just working with a college or pro team. I know that's the dream for a lot of us. It was for me for a long time. I interviewed with multiple front offices for full-time positions. None of them ended up working out, but I'm glad for that, because I really like the opportunities that I have now to teach. I like the opportunities that I've had to consult on projects over the years, and to be able to make my own way and to make a path that I know is right for me, that's in alignment with my skills, it's in alignment with the life I want to live and what's in my heart. And I've seen a lot of people, both that I've met outside of Sports Management Worldwide, and also people who've come through the class who are, they're people who are starting companies, starting agencies, starting scouting services, starting teams or trading academies. There's so much more that you can do, and so many different ways to leverage new technologies and new ideas than there used to be. While it was the case, not that long ago, but certainly for many decades, that if you wanted to work in basketball, you needed to go through the gatekeepers and NBA teams, coaching staffs, or colleges. That's not the case anymore. There's so many opportunities to make your own way, and that's something I think we can all be appreciative of.
Our letter jacket is not as important as it used to be. Speaking of the great job you're doing in our class as well as today, our next caller is Josh Earl. And Josh was your mentor, if I may. Josh, come in. It's good to see you, my friend. I missed you.
Hey, Lynn, congrats on the new grandchild. Hope everybody in the family's doing well.
Everything in Vegas. Wait till I'll bring him to those meet and greets in Vegas. Good to see you, Josh.
Likewise,
Josh, give him your background and then your question for James, your former student, if I may.
Yeah. So, hi everybody. I'm Josh Earl. I'm in Aurora, Colorado. I actually am an SMW graduate. I also used to teach the digital video editing course and co-host the basketball GM and scouting course for several years. And I've known James since 2010 when we both attended the Vegas Summer League conference. And I contend to this day that the best thing that's ever happened to me in basketball was actually the friendship James and I managed to build. He's my brother from another mother. We talk like every day. We talked earlier. Earlier, James, you mentioned that you write and do some stuff on your own site, Basketball Scouting Guide. Can you tell everybody a little bit more about what the basketballscoutingguide.com can help them with?
Yeah, thank you, Josh.
Thanks for asking about that, Josh. Well, it's really nice compliment, I think, to what I do with the digital video editing class with Sports Management Worldwide. I think what I'm doing here is more focused on video. What I do at my own site is more focused on just kind of the scouting side of things and sharing some of the lessons that I've learned, because the video class has a heavy scouting component, but there's also more to it. We do player development and coaching and halftime adjustment edits and things like that. But I think it's important to get into some of the scouting experiences that I've had, sharing tips, sharing, more targeted career information for how people might want to make their way in the business, because I've been, kind of out there sort of publicly, both with Sports Management Worldwide and on my own for the last decade in basketball. And I've always kind of thought it's a shame that, outside of what basically the three of us on this call right now are doing, there hasn't been a whole lot of information out there for people who want to get started in the business, who want to get started in scouting. So that's a gap that I've been trying to fill too. And I think that's, because I've worked with, Mark Workentine before too, who teaches the basketball GM and scouting course. And I think that just the more we have people speaking to how you can get involved on the scouting side of things, the better. I think that's really important. So that's an area where I'm looking to give value. And I have a little ebook that I wrote on there that people can download for free. So people can feel free to check that out.
And Josh, do you have any follow-up? It just made my day to see you. We've grown organically. We started with one student, one class. We were dial-up Yahoo, James, before you were born. And it was some lonely Sundays, trust me. And with Ike and Sharice and Liz and all our staff and our career counselors, it's a thrill to see how much we're growing globally. And I think now that COVID is almost over, you know, we changed, Josh. I used to say you could drink beer in my class. I couldn't make you or stop you. We changed it during COVID. No masks, bring a flask, because we're still trying to send a message that we're having fun. Josh,
I didn't get that memo.
Yeah, right. Josh, go ahead. Anything else?
Just that I gotta give SMWW a lot of credit. After I got done with my bachelor's in management, I was kind of looking for a foothold in the industry and stumbled upon the digital video editing course. And in the process found like my calling in basketball, which is kind of, I've come to the term basketball career development coach. I help people develop their careers in basketball. And I wouldn't have gotten there without SMWW and the great people I got to work with, including Jeff Brody, who I saw is on the call. How you doing, bud? Hope you and the family are well. Mark
Well,
Orkin,
don't go there. That's another statement.
Yeah. and quite a few wonderful people that SMWW brings in to help all of you. So
yeah. Well, and Josh, like I said, we'll be back in Vegas. You're always a guest of ours. You know that. We love it. I'm going to turn. I've got a recruiting meeting next because we do a lot of silo sports, and I've got a football recruit I'm having a late lunch with. But Ike, I'm going to pass the mic to you to follow up. And everybody in here, we appreciate you taking the time, and we'll be glad to send you more information. And we just want you to get paid for your passion. And I always say, go global or go home. And that's what our mantra is. And we're going to keep growing. Ike, I'll pass the mic to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Lynn. Yeah. And have a good one on that recruiting call too. So yeah, James, I'm not sure if there's anything else that you kind of want to leave the group here with. We don't need to take up too much more time here, but is there anything else that you kind of want to describe about either the class or just kind of Synergy in general? It's been a pretty comprehensive, discussion here today. So I just want to make sure that we're not leaving anything out.
Well, on the subject of the class, I think one thing that's probably important to explicitly say that I'm not sure we've mentioned is the next class is open for enrollment, actually.
Yes.
And it starts on Monday the 31st.
An important thing.
Week. So we probably ought to mention that before we go, kind of important information. So if you're thinking about signing up, this is a good time to do that because you got 13 days before the next round of the class starts. We're running it. What are we doing? I got 3-4 times a year right now. It's
just about once a quarter.
Quarterly right now. So this is certainly a good time to get going. I guess also keeping in mind kind of one of the nice little perks of the course is you have Synergy access for 8 weeks, which means you can watch every NBA game going back to 2004, 2005 if you're really old school, or if you don't have League Pass and you're just wanting to watch some games that are happening now, this is a pretty good time to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. As Josh just mentioned in the in the chat without commercials, which is huge. That's a great obviously point to mention is that the next class is going to be starting the week of January 31st. James, your chats are on Monday night if I'm not mistaken, so those will be there. Sharice has been kind enough to drop those links in the chat area as well, so if you guys do want more information on the class besides obviously what James has been talking about for the last hour or so, feel free to go there. The application is free. Our advisors are going to be able to get you guys some more information on how the class works, kind of the structure of things, all of that kind of stuff. Obviously, you will be meeting with James once a week for that hour with him on Monday nights, which is great, and he'll go over how to use Synergy, the tagging process and all that kind of stuff. So he's truly the expert in that area. So I think if you guys are wanting to learn that side of things, I mean, there's clearly no better option, I would say. So there's definitely that. All of our classes, as I should mention, are all 8 weeks. They're all done all online. So we do have the Synergy class with James. We also have basketball gym and scouting. We have basketball analytics. We have our basketball agent course. And then we also have about 35 other classes across all of the major sports. So there really isn't anything that we leave out in terms of class offerings. So I think we'll just kind of leave it with that. It's been a great session. I'm really happy that we were able to nail something down here with you, James. So I'm very excited. Obviously, make sure to check out James's website there. He also just put in the chat section, basketballscoutingguide.com. Definitely want to give you that shout out for that, because I know you put a lot of work into that venture as well. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to email info at smww.com. We'd be happy to answer any more questions. I will be sending out the recording of this tomorrow morning when it becomes available to us. So if anyone wants to go back and re-listen to anything, obviously that will become available for you guys. And yeah, we'll have our advisors follow up with anyone that has any questions. James's class again, January 31st for 8 weeks. And now is a great time to get in. So James, have a great rest of the afternoon. Enjoy your Tuesday, and we'll see you all in the next one. Okay.
Thanks, Ike. Thanks for coming out, everybody. This was fun. Great question.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, guys. Goodbye.